Welcome to Eventual Millionaire. I'm Jamie Masters, and I am so excited to finally have Lisa Sasevich on the show. You can check her out at lisasasevich.com. And I actually, before we dive too deep in, she actually has a book offer. So hopefully we'll get into the meat of all this, but we've been chatting for probably 15 minutes already before we even hit record. So Lisa, why don't you tell everyone where they can get amazing information, because you are the queen of sales conversion.
Well, first off, hi everybody, and thanks, Jamie. And I got to tell you, maybe one day she will release the pre-talk that we did about, having kids and transitioning relationships and all, changing last names and all the fun things that go along with, growing up as an entrepreneur. So, Jamie and I will conspire about that and let you guys know. Right?
Definitely.
Yeah,
Bonus
but
material later.
we want to keep getting real with you here, and we decided to start out since we can already tell we've got a big spark between us, and this is going to be a hot interview that nobody misses anything, and that you can really just relax and be present with us. So I conjured something up for everybody to kind of give you double duty, and what it is it's our brand new best-selling book that I want to give to you as a gift along with, and especially for, EM viewers here, it comes with a 90-minute online training that accompanies it. And the whole thing is on one thing, and that's boost your sales. So if you want to go over to boostyoursalesbook.com/EM, so it's boostyoursalesbook.com/EM. Not only will you get an instant download of exactly how to make your offer irresistible and then how to make it to more than one person at a time, which is really what I want to dive into here today. But you'll also, because you put that /EM, you'll also have the choice to register for our free 90-minute online training that is a class that goes along with the book. So, there it is. We'll remind you again at the end, but just in case you're managing kids and work like we are and you don't get to stay the whole time, I want to make sure at least you have the deep dive training. So thanks, Jamie. Thanks
Oh,
for,
of course.
what happens is I get so into, our discussion, I forget to tell people this whole thing that we prepared. So I appreciate being able to do that right up front.
Well, heck yeah. And that's the thing. Most people are driving or they're running or
Yes.
working out, and they're like, oh, and they'll try and take like random notes. And instead of taking random notes, like you said, people
Yeah.
can actually be present, and I can go off topic as much as possible, and they can still get that for later.
This
That
is
way.
serving a lot of masters here. You masters.
No pressure for me now as host. It's perfect. But one of the things that I think is extremely important is sales conversion, and I really feel like most people don't put enough effort into that. That's what my mentor taught me at the beginning, like hardcore
Yes.
sales, and I hated sales at the beginning.
Yeah.
So why don't you give me sort of a couple quick tips on what people can do right now to boost their sales conversion, because I know that's your thing.
Well, I'll tell you, I had worked for many companies. I worked for Pfizer. Worked for Hewlett Packard. Came out of college with a marketing degree, took the traditional path, sales manager, did well. Um, I came to realize that what really moved the needle, and especially as I got into more heart-based businesses, I started doing personal development work, and I wanted my friends to do the courses I was doing, and I started doing business seminars, and I wanted my friends to do those courses. And as I started wanting people to say yes to their life, I realized I needed a way to make an invitation that wasn't pushy, wasn't salesy, but gave them kind of everything they needed to be able to say yes right there on the spot. Because you may have noticed that, there's some like old sayings, the fortune is in the follow up. And certainly there's truth to that. But I've got to tell you, the fortune that most of us are stepping over is really when that person's in the moment of possibility, when they see something new that they didn't see. Wow, I really could drop that baby weight, or I really could transition from my work to my passion business. When they have that moment of knowing, which I almost went knowing, but it's really knowing,
Mm.
right? Like knowing in their heart. You want to, at that moment, if you're the one that can help them, you have something that can help them. You want to be able to make what we call an irresistible offer, something that your ideal client, like the one you're really meant to help, they'll thank you for it. And so, that's really what's inside boostyoursalesbook.com/EM. It's exactly how to structure irresistible offer. And when we talk about sales conversion, I'm so glad you brought that up, and that, you're so successful, I'm sure, because you came from a mentor that told you, tell me if it sounded something like this. Let me try to channel your mentor. I don't even know who it is, but it's probably something like, Jamie, you can get out there and reach a gazillion people, right? And you can have a lot of followers and you can spend time on Facebook and you can do podcasts. And all of that is lead generation. That is all client attraction. But if you don't have what I like to call a sales conversion machine, if you don't have a way to make your irresistible offer and give them what they need to be able to say yes and go for it, having a huge following can actually be costly. It can make you feel like, why do I have this huge following, but I'm kind of still the best kept secret? Why am I not making the difference I want to make? Why don't I have the abundance I want to have? And so you clearly got that equation down. And it's the biggest thing that people are missing. We get all wrapped up in the things that we got to find clients, but you got to ask yourself when you find them. I mean, even if it's one, do you have the systems in place to be able to make your irresistible offer in a way that they're like, oh, thank you. I've been looking for you.
Well, I think the whole point, like you said, irresistible. I don't think people really understand that word in front of it because I have people a lot of times that come to me and they have a podcast and they're like, I have a podcast, but I'm not really making any money. And it's like, well, what's your business model? What do you sell? And they're like, well, I kind of like, I'm a coach or I'm a whatever. And there is no irresistible offer, to tell you the truth. So how do we know if we actually have an irresistible offer that matches correctly?
That's great. So let me break down the words offer versus irresistible offer, because there's kind of like a whole world that comes with each one. And so it helps to think of them a little bit, like to separate them. So when you're starting, like maybe you're working over here in a job for, to support your family and all of that, but you have something that it's in your heart. You have something to offer, right? So this is the word offer. So offer is that that there's a unique transformation, a unique outcome that is yours to bring to the world. It's yours to help people with. And when I think about the offer, before we add any of the irresistible frosting, when I think about the offer, a good way to think about it, you could kind of write this down so you could see it in front of you, is that your offer, it equals the transformation or the outcome that you provide plus how you provide it. We call that the service delivery. So you talked about a coach. Maybe you have a coach whose offer is helping moms rediscover themselves postpartum, right? Like a very specific thing that this coach does. And how she does it, the service delivery might be through one-on-one coaching, like a 90-day, 10-session coaching package, one-on-one. So there's what is the outcome they will get, plus how do you deliver that outcome? Now, take it differently. We've got some of you, I'm sure, here that have in-office practices. You're looking to get clients, patients, maybe you're a financial planner, maybe you do insurance, maybe you do health and wellness, and you want to get people into an office, right? So you've got a unique transformation you provide. Maybe it's helping people, for example, one of my clients, Pam Bartha, live disease-free, right? That's the transformation she offers. And then how do you do it? It might be in-office appointments. We have other people out there filling workshops and seminars. So like us, right? We have, for example, our Speak to Sell live coming up in October. So if we say the transformation we offer is helping you be confident and ready to speak and sell, right? How do we do it? A 3-day live event is what we call the service delivery. So those together make up your offer. Does that make sense so far?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And a kind of a good, if I had to give you like a one-liner for all those big tons of words I just said, it would be this with your offer. Okay. This is the tip. Remember this when you're speaking to someone, when you're writing an email, writing copy, they're buying the destination, not the plane. Okay. So they want the outcome or the transformation. That's what they're buying, not the service delivery. So what we see a lot when people get out there and they say, I'm going to make an offer, is they're heart-centered. They teach you, this is why you need a financial plan, an estate plan. They get out there, they do talks, they do education, they do in-office, lunch and learns. And then when they get to the offer, they start selling the plane. So if you get my 362-page ebook, it's going to come with 15 hours of downloadable audio. Plus, we have this 3-day seminar. We don't put you to bed at 9 p.m. We keep you up till 2 a.m. You get 17 hours a day of training.
Yeah, you're like, yay, that sounds great. No.
Yeah, and kind of like you and I were talking about offline. I mean, we're busy. There's not a lot of sitting around going on over here, A lot of you listening, your parents, you're juggling your work. Maybe you've got your passion job, or project, and, a lot, your health. And And so the old way of selling, where we sell the plane, this is how many coaching sessions you'll get, it doesn't work because in today's age, it's just adding to the overwhelm. So if you do this equation, kind of write this one down over where you wrote, that you say offer equals and you have outcome or transformation, I want you to write a 90% over that. And then over service delivery, like how you do it, I want you to write 10%. And I want you to like post that on your computer, right? You can write like Lisa Sasevich said. And what I'm saying here is if you, just from being here today, just, our first 10 minutes together, if you make a shift when you talk about what you offer and you 90% of your energy, 90% of your copy, 90% of your words on the transformation that you provide, and 10% on, and you'll be joining us in Las Vegas in October for an amazing 3 days of training with me, right? All that. People want that destination. They don't really care what plane they ride, right? They will make it happen. And to test this, think about the last thing that you invested in, right? I mean, I do this all the time. You think, okay, the last thing I invested in, I wanted to learn how to leverage Facebook ads at the next level. I didn't really care if I had to go to a workshop, get private coaching, learn in a group. And so that's one of the biggest game changers when we talk about the offer.
Perfect. So how do we make it irresistible?
I love that.
Because that's the thing that I think a lot of people, like, we have an offer and we don't know that it's good. We know what the outcome is that we want, but how do we make sure that it matches?
Totally. And by the way, in boostyoursalesbook.com/EM, there's an exercise for those of you who are like, God, I know I have something to offer, and especially if you do the training, online training that comes with it, select that. You might feel like, I know I have something to offer. I just can't quite articulate it the way that, like I don't know how to tell my mother-in-law what I do, right? So we've got an exercise to help you finally find the words to say what you do. There's some simple questions to answer and kind of solves a big mystery for a lot of people that are starting.
Good. See, I love what you did. Yeah. Like, okay, you're going to have the words. The end result is like, you're going to know exactly what to do. There's questions that I'm going to ask you in order to get that. It's the exact same thing.
I'm modeling.
I know, you're so good, Lisa.
Model as I teach. I want to watch this interview a few times. And actually, in our Speak to Sell program, that is our flagship program that people want to make their offer to more than one person at a time using speaking, right? So it gives a formula that you can take to teleseminars, webinars, stages. We call that what you just, because as a savvy entrepreneur, you pointed out, we call that seeding. So it's a technique of, just sharing parts of where what you're talking about came from, kind of like giving value and then showing them where they could get more, right? You've all know like, oh, I like that. I know where to go now, go to Speak to Sell, right? So we call that seeding. And it's something that, I tell you as a parent, oh my God. It works really well.
Oh, I want to get into that after. Like yes, we'll talk about that after.
Yes. Because what it's designed to do is create hunger and desire in your prospective ideal client or kids without being pushy, without being salesy, just kind of like inviting pursuit versus pursuing. So kind of a little bonus tip for you.
Well, I want everybody to like go back, like rewind, because you can see Lisa do this so many times and it's so awesome because she uses herself as an example. So she's actually telling people all about exactly what she does in examples. And so therefore it's not like, hey, I have this new event and it's coming out and you guys should come to it. Because then you're this skeezy person that hops on in 10 minutes and like goes and does it. But for you, you're like, oh, just like what we do. Ta-da. It's so simple, which I love.
My girlfriend, she calls that whole like old way, the Lamby Ass Club. It's an acronym she made up for Look at Me, I'm So Fabulous, where we like stick testimonials up on the screen and talk about all the wonderful things we did.
Yeah, look at me, look at me.
You can use those. It's just we show you how to use testimonials and case studies in a way that's client focused instead of you focused. And that's what changes the energy. That's what changes the feel. So no longer do I want to avoid your question, Jamie.
Yes, continue.
I'm really excited to share with you guys. So now, we have to first distinguish what's an offer, right? The unique transformation you provide plus how you provide it, simply put. So now how do we make that offer irresistible, right? And what I'm going to share with you now, what's exciting is you can use what I'm going to share with you one-on-one, but it also works really well on live stages or group presentations. It also works really well virtually, like on a teleseminar or a webinar or an interview. And it comes down to distinguishing three elements that make up not just an offer, but an irresistible offer. So this is the kind of the writer downer part, or again, it's all distinguished even further in the book, which is why it's a perfect match with today. So the first one is we call the main dish. You've got to know of my irresistible offer, what's the main dish? And the main dish is really that piece that I just shared with you. It's the outcome plus how you provide it. So there's some way you give that. Is it the 90 days of coaching, the 3-day seminar? Is it your digital course or coming into your office for, 3 months of visits? So that in and of itself, we're calling that the main dish. It's kind of like a plate, right? I mean, that's the steak, right? So what makes it irresistible is adding the second and third step. So the second step is what we call bonuses. Now, there's a whole lot of different schools of thought and thinking and a little bit some old school stuff out there with bonuses. So I kind of want to give you the update of what we find really works. And, I just want to share, like, why might you listen to me? We've done over $30 million of sales, like from my home with 2 toddlers in tow. Well, the toddlers are now 9 and 12, but when I started, they were a newborn and a 3-year-old. And we have clients in 134 countries, right? And we've been honored by the Inc. 500 list of fastest growing privately held companies 2 years in a row. So it's working. Like what I want to share with you, I just want to give you some confidence that it's working, and it works now for thousands of people in like every kind of business. So here it is. So the bonuses, contrary to what you may be seeing out there a lot, it's actually most powerful when you're making your offer to couple your main dish with bonuses. And I like to use 2 rules: few and tightly related. Okay, those are the 2 things that I want you guys to keep in mind: few and tightly related. So few means like 1 or 2, or if you're really good at it, maybe 3, but much more than that. And you've just got a lot of things, it's a little bit of an older technique, stacking value, where they say, hey, buy my, $97 course and you're going to get $84,000 of bonuses. And like I said, the 15 hours of audio and nowadays it's like, God, people's reaction is a little bit more, it used to be like, great, I love this new thing called an iPod and I can't wait to download 87 hours of audio. But now that we have our iPhones and such, we're overloaded. So when you do that nowadays, a lot of people have the reaction like, can I get what I need from the $97 thing? Those 5 modules you promised, right? Or those appointments with you. Do I need all that other stuff? So there are certain times when stacking on bonuses does make sense. But for most of you that are out there making your offer to a client, a customer, somebody that you want to serve, coach, consultant, service professional, having just, 1 or 2 bonuses will go further. And we want those bonuses. The other element is to be tightly related. So a lot of times when we have, a lot of passions or kind of jack of all trades in our life, we say, hey, we try to figure out our bonuses and we think like, how can I use what I have? Which is a good thought. But you got to be a little careful because it should be serving the same transformation. In fact, a good tip for a bonus is it solves a problem that would stop that person from buying. Right. So, for example, when we offer our Speak to Sell virtual boot camp, so we have a 5-week course, using myself as an example, it's on speaking and selling. What's one of the first things people think? God, I'd love to learn her structure for having a talk that I love, but I don't know how I would get booked. I mean, that's one of the first concerns. So what's our bonus, right? When people hear the offer and they take advantage of it on the spot, they get our Get Booked Toolkit. So it's this, like additional $1,000 program that I created that, I used to include it in the program and it was like down the hall and around the corner in some module and no one ever saw it. So here's another tip for finding your bonuses. If you already have a body of work, find something amazing that you're not getting credit for. Like people aren't using it. You stuck it at the end of, your 5th session because you didn't know where to put it. This was my Get Booked Toolkit 5 years ago. And when I realized it was the main concern people had, we dusted it off. We looked around the shop, said, oh, these are emails I've used to get booked. This is actually our strategy. We figured out, how have I stayed constantly booked for all these years? And we put together this toolkit. And now it's the bonus. So as you can see, there's few bonuses, like there's that one and maybe 1 or 2 others, and then it's tightly related and it handles the objection that the person might keep themselves from buying. Make sense?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. You're already getting objections in advance. So you're like, oh, by the way, I solved that too. Oh, by the way, I solved that too. And therefore they have no excuses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it couples the thing I was going to say to stay away from is if you're like, hey, here's my course on copywriting, and if you get it today, I'll teach you a salsa lesson because I'm a salsa dancer. And I know that sounds funny, but I can't tell you how many like dating and relationship coaches are coupling their stuff with calligraphy or, feng shui or, just like because we have multiple passions and sometimes we're trying to figure out which one we're going to go with, but just make sure that it's in the same outcome, the same destination.
I love
Okay.
that. The same outcome that
Yeah.
you want, and therefore you're just helping your people in general even
Yeah.
better anyway. So it serves them even more.
Yeah,
Okay.
you want it to feel like something that they probably would have bought anyway. Like, oh, I would have done your speak to sell, got my talk, got my offer, been all confident and ready, and then went, oh no, I need to get booked. Probably would have ended up back on my campus buying that program, right? We don't even sell it separately, so the only way to get it is with the program. And then the third piece, so you've got your main dish,
Mhm.
right? You've got your bonuses. The two tips are few and tightly related. And then this third one is the where people really make the biggest mistakes. Okay, and it's called your limiter.
Okay.
It's a limiter. Now, your limiter can be one of two. There's the main two limiters, like just can hand them over and you can use them right away, are time
Mm-hmm.
and quantity.
Ooh, okay.
So the time limiter is, hey, if you take advantage of this today, you're going to get my Get Book Toolkit. You always have to have a reason with a time limiter, okay? If you use a time limiter without a reason, a justification, people will say you felt pushy
Yep.
because then they make up the justification. They say, well, like when you say, I got, today only. Oh no, I'll tell you something funny on the quantity limiter. So on the time limiter, if you don't say why, it feels like the why is you just want my money.
Yes.
If you say some authentic why, like for us, authentically, we track the people who take immediate action, like they see our offer and they grab it. We've just noticed they keep doing it through the whole course. They end up on our stages as success stories. They end up in our e-zines, as case studies. Like when we track back, they're some of the first people when we make the offer that like either stand up and go to the back of the room. That's why we number our order forms. It's something we've been paying attention to. There's all kinds of books out there with some themes that say like how you do anything is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a known phrase. People who take action take action. So one of the reasons that we do incentivize people when they see our offer is, we want to know who our action takers are and we want to give you more. You work faster, you don't overthink things, you don't need a committee vote before making decisions. And that was my big breakthrough. I mean, I love your brand, Eventual Millionaire, and I was thinking about myself and that was my big breakthrough was taking action and not overthinking everything. When I went from one-on-one coaching at my home with the two babies and my then husband was going in fellowship to become a heart surgeon and I'm trying to do everything I'm overthinking every decision. When I finally almost by necessity just started making decisions, feel it, I call it listen, act, trust. Listen to the tap, take the action, trust what I did. When I started doing that, everybody around me started doing it. My like people would run to the back of the room to buy from me. They'd click online. It's a congruency that I have
Mm.
developed that if I'm going to ask you to say yes to yourself, I better be over here saying yes to myself, right?
But it's true, like everything that I see in the millionaires I interview, but also
Yes.
clients, it's speed of implementation. And it's funny how you wouldn't assume that that matters at all. And literally, like the people
Yes.
that take more at faster without necessarily even thinking more or
Yeah.
over analyzing, because sometimes entrepreneurs do that also,
Yeah.
it's insane to see the results that they actually have.
Yeah.
But I
One of
love,
my early mentors, same thing. She used to say, money loves speed.
oh yeah. But I love that you're not making up some sort of time delimiter where you're like, oh, well, it's only open for 3 days and then we're going to close it, even though we could sell it for a
Yeah.
really long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, when that does apply, though, I will
Mm-hmm.
say on time is when the course is starting,
Mm.
right? Or you have only, you're traveling and you've got 8 spots in your calendar to talk to people before you leave this week. So the first 8 people that get onto your calendar. Now, that would be an example of the other limiter. So we've got time, like today only, this week only. Oh, some of you in corporate, you're like, I can't do that, or in health. It sounds more like this. Hey, if you can get that proposal approved, before the end of the month or by Friday, I'm booking all my travel out for the next quarter. I will add on a half day to train your staff. That's a $5,000 value if you guys can get yourself sorted out by Friday. Put it in their court, right? And if you forget the limiter, what does it do? It turns you into a pursuer. So, do you have the proposal yet? Hey, you guys get a chance to meet, right? But if it's in their benefit, if you invite pursuit instead of pursue, the limiter is the thing that invites pursuit. Now they're over there hustling, you're like, hey guys, it's Friday, just checking in. I'm booking my travel. I know I offered you up that, half day to train your staff. No problem if you're not ready. I'm sure you'll do fine either way. I mean, it's so generous, really. You're coming from service. So the limiter is the game changer. And then the other one that you just brought up is the quantity. And yeah, this is a funny one. People will be like, there's only 87 copies of my downloadable ebook. And it's kind of like, okay. So that's another one where you have to justify. This is all part of the Speak to Sell formula. Like I'm plucking this right out of module 1 on irresistible offers. So you have to justify why is there only 87 copies of your ebook, right?
Yeah, it'll self-destruct. That's what happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's going to blow up. Yes. So yeah, I mean, if there's, think about it. What is your authentic reasoning? I'm only taking 87 in the course. I want to see who my action takers are. We'll be releasing it again, but right now we just want those of you who are ready. Like whatever your true motivation is, if you share that, then again, people don't, when they're left to their own devices and it comes to offers, people go, unfortunately, usually to a dark place, right? Like the most, kind of like painful, criticism for those of us making offers that really care, like we want to make a difference, is that we're pushy or salesy. So that is my ideal client, is the person that they want to make a difference, they want to sell more, but they don't want to be pushy or salesy, right? And I'm the same way.
Me too.
So we've got main dish, bonuses, limiters, right? We talked about bonuses being few and tightly related, and we talked about limiters being quantity or time. Those are the two main limiters for you to play with. And you can combine them together. So the example I gave about our Get Book Toolkit, that's got, we'll say it's the first X number of people and, and today, or, right now while you're seeing this offer. So you can also combine them together. And there's tweaks. So if you're on a teleseminar, webinar, interview versus a live stage, there's some modifications. And we mentioned those, again, boostyoursalesbook.com/EM. We won't make you spell out the whole thing. EM. It's all in there. And kind of the other thing I tucked in there now that I'm thinking it through is, we're talking from our first module, which is all about irresistible offers. But just know that in the book and on the training video, and the book's like 60 pages, like you can get through it really fast. A lot of people read it on a flight but we also walk you through, I pretty much give you the formula. We call it the Speak to Sell formula, and really the 5 steps to putting together a talk that you love that leads to that irresistible offer. Because, I mean, it's great to know how to make your offer and to get clear on it. But I mean, what are you going to do? Stand on the street corner and say, here's my offer, right? Like something has to lead up to it. There's some positioning, some seating, all the things that we've been kind of sprinkling into this conversation. They all come together so that you walk around confident and ready, that if anyone ever asks you to talk about what you do, to make a presentation, big stage, little presentation, you feel ready, and that's, as a busy mommy, I'd have to say, like, how did I become an eventual millionaire? It was really being ready with my irresistible offer and one signature talk that leads to it.
And that's it.
That's it. I mean, that's, if I had to start all over again, right? Like for some of you that are, you're very successful in what you're doing, but you're maybe launching something new, or you want to take it to the next level. If I had to start all over again, I would get super clear. What is my offer? How can I make it irresistible? And then I'd have one presentation. We call that your Speak to Sell signature talk, that I would be ready to do online, offline interviews. And, the idea is that, when I was a busy mommy in Tucson, Arizona, brand, like I said, a toddler and a 3-year-old and a husband at the time in fellowship, I was like, I cannot be going to all these networking events and meeting people for a let's do lunch or a Starbucks date, trying to figure out who's trying to sell who, and ending up with nothing with my kids in daycare another day, which was not what I wanted.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah. And then you're realizing like there's not enough hours in the day, even if I could sell everybody. Yeah.
So if you really want to, if you're on this podcast, if you're on this show because you want to be, or maybe you are and you want to expand it, a millionaire, doing that one client at a time is a very long, if not impossible path, right? I mean, some of you might be able to consult on large contracts like that. But the key, and it comes right back to what we started talking about, is sales conversion. It's being able to make that irresistible offer to more than one person at a time. There's a lot of people throwing around the world word, you probably hear this, leverage, you need to leverage, you need to leverage, right? So I kind of want to wrap up with this thought about leverage. You know, you have to break leverage down into two pieces. There's leveraged delivery, like serving more than one person at a time. But what I'm passionate about is your leveraged offer. How can you make your offer to more than one person at a time? And, we see a lot of people, they get that group training, group program, that online something that they think is going to be like nirvana. I don't have to, do the hours for dollars anymore. Then they can't fill it, right? They have 2 and 3 and 10 people in their course or program. This is common for those of you moving more into maybe informational marketing or group service. Well, if you, instead of focusing on that first, focus on the sales conversion piece. Get this system down, like download the book, get into it, make sure you've got these pieces in place. I'm passionate about this because it is a game changer. You can start making your offer to more than one person at a time. And that's what I did when I was that mommy in Tucson trying to figure out what to do. I'd use my babysitting or daycare hours to go out and speak to little groups wherever I could find them that already existed. And I'd make my presentation, give value, and make my offer to more than one person at a time. Eventually, I picked up the phone and started doing it on teleseminars. Same thing. And then you know what happens over here on the leverage delivery when you're leveraging your offer? You have to figure out how to get your group course together. You have to figure out, what a nice problem to have. I have more people saying yes. So now I've got to, I'm not going to take a 5-year project to perfect my home study course. I'm going to pop it up in 3 or 4 days because it's all in there.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not going to sit around perfecting my plans. I'm going to get out there with my irresistible offer. And, that's my cattle prod because it is what makes millionaire after millionaire after millionaire, in my humble opinion.
Well, and then you have cash flow. If you sell stuff and you can actually convert, then you have cash flow. Have other people help you create the course or whatever, or get hired designers, because that's where everybody gets stuck too. They're like, I can't do it all myself, which of course you can't. But if you also don't have cash to have other people help, well, then you can't do that either. And then we're stuck in that I'm the mom and I'm doing absolutely everything and can't do anymore. I wanted to ask you this. I know we have to start wrapping up in just a little bit, but you've said this a few times, and I don't know if this is something you normally speak about, but I really wanted to ask because you said heart a lot. So, and it's something that I actually find way more, and I don't know if it's a female over male thing or anything like that, but what's really interesting when I do interviews like this, like going with gut or going with heart instead of consistently being too logical or something like that as an entrepreneur, what systems or processes do you use to actually tap into that? Because I feel like some of us are disconnected.
I so appreciate you asking that. And, we have a lot of creative clients, a lot of people that got into what they do because they, like the email, they want to make a difference. And they get in there and go, oh, darn, I have to sell. Forgot about that. So, we embrace all of those people that are like, I want to make a difference, but I realize I need to make money to keep making a difference. And then they go like, wow, I never thought I could make this much money. So my 2 processes that we teach on our campus, just to kind of reveal some of the ways that I stay connected to that. One, I've named it Listen, Act, Trust. Listen, Act, Trust. And as I said, this was my biggest breakthrough of really, in 1 year, I have to tell you, Jamie, I was, that Tucson mom, just about making $100,000 a year coaching one-on-one. And when I started doing the things that I'm shared with you today, this is hard to believe, but in 10 months, I went to 2.2 million in sales.
Wow.
Just getting my irresistible offer down, having that signature talk, and then doing it, wherever I could, live or virtually. So what was one of the changes internally was this listen, act, trust. Listen to the taps, right? Some of you already do it. You're like, if someone tells me a book 3 times, I read it, right? Or tells me about a movie 3 times, I see it. Well, just take that to the next level. When you have a thought, it feels like it's in your head, but when it keeps recurring, where there's like that, oh, I should study with that person. I should invest here. I should give myself this gift. I should, maybe it's cutting communication somewhere that's not serving you. I should move. Like, we're not a tree. Move. So, listen and see if you can start listening faster
Hmm.
and then act. So get the listen to the act as fast as you can.
How do you do that though? Because that's the thing,
Yeah.
like, I have issues with this too, because I literally
Yes.
have ADD. Everything goes a mile a minute, and
Yeah.
the listening part and having it register, it has to
Yeah.
take like 3 or 4 times before I even notice any of
Well, I
it.
think that's a
So,
good idea. I'll give you the how.
okay.
The last piece though is the trust, because this is the hardest one. If you do get to where you start to listen and make those moves, you're just like, I need to clean it up with that person. I need to clean something up. I need to call them. Like, write it down, make sure it's happening, right? And but the trust is the big one, because a lot of times those kind of decisions where we listen, we act, and then trusting the choice we made, because it's after you act that you get the naysayers, the people who mean well. That, if I had listened to the people that meant well, I would still be, busting it out one client at a time, probably hating my passion. So, they're not sitting in your shoes, they're not here listening to this, they don't have the drive in their heart at this moment that you have. So trusting yourself is one of the biggest things. Now, the how, my how, and I'm just going to give you like a kind of a personal spiritual practice that I adopted some years ago, is I'm a kind of, I'm not a writer like just for the sake of writing, but I love writing in like a journal.
Hmm.
But I have a process that I learned. It came from a book called True Purpose, a
Okay.
guy named Tim Kelly that I really love. He spoke on my stages many times. And he calls it active imagination.
Ooh.
And it's kind of like, have you ever seen a script where it says like the one character dot dot, and then there's writing, and then the next character dot dot. Some people call it automatic writing in other modalities. So I write God, because that's what I call my trusted source.
Hmm.
And you can write there whatever you want: trusted source, higher self, God, like fill in wherever you get your downloads, you know? So for me, I write God dot dot, and then I write, I did it this morning, like Father, and I'm Jewish, so this is not meant to be like, Christian, Catholic, anything. It's just your relationship with your trusted source. So whatever you call your trusted source, and then I'll write, hey, I'm feeling really crunchy today about X, Y, and Z, and I don't understand why, because like my team's in better shape than ever. Can you shed some light? And then I'll write, God, my trusted source, dot dot, and I keep writing,
Hmm.
and it's a dialogue. And what Tim says in his book, which is true for me, and I've shared this now with thousands of people, and I get letters all the time like, wow, thank you for sharing, is that 80% of the time you're going to connect to your trusted source. And you sort of have to get over the belief that you're doing all the writing, like that you're doing all the talking. And some tips that he talks about, which were true for me. Sometimes they'll have a sense of humor that's different than yours, your trusted source, or they'll think of things or say things to you that you're like, that is so obvious. I never would have thought of it. This happens to me all the time in business. A shift, a change was like, oh, move that person over there. They're right in front of my nose. And name it this or price it that. I mean, I use it with my irresistible offers, with my kids, with everything. And I just did some writing this morning so I could come to you feeling really freed up. And that's the how on the listen act. It's like, where do you, because I used to ask the outside world. I used to ask friends or people that weren't in,
Yeah.
moving at my pace. And they try to protect me from myself. And that's a bad idea. If you want to really succeed, you've got to take risks. You've got to go for it. You've got to be willing. So my how is, that's one of the processes I use. It's called active imagination, and you can read about it in Tim Kelly's book, True Purpose.
Okay, that's so impressive because it's so hard to interpret, especially entrepreneurs that move so ridiculously fast through our lives and have to make decisions quickly. We were just talking about speed, which is so important, but
Yes.
sometimes, like you said, you get these feelings and you're like, everything's going really well. I'm not really sure why I'm feeling like this. And we don't even go through and explore it. So the fact that you have a process to go through is exactly what I was looking for. So I really appreciate that.
To give you an example, I invested. I mean, I did not have the money, and I was sitting in front of my computer one of those nights at 2 a.m. while the kids were sleeping. What am I going to do? I can't take one more client. I hadn't had my breakthrough yet, and an offer came through online for a course to get my work online. And I had seen it and seen it. She was mailing it and mailing it and mailing it, and it was going to close. So it was the limiter. I mean, it's a very real story. It was like that night, the limiter. If the limiter wasn't there, I would have kept looking at it another 5 days. She made an irresistible offer, a payment plan, a limiter right now. And it was a $3,000 program. And I mean, our whole rent was like $600, I mean, we were sharing a car, and I did the 8 pay, it was like $400 a month, 8 times 4. Yeah, 30. It was coming in 6 months. And I was doing $400 a month. It was almost our rent. Definitely could have bought that second car. And I clicked that button and I don't know what came over me, but that was my first really big listen, act, trust. And it just kept going from there. And that's when I started to really be the client that I wanted to attract. Do you know, like,
Oh, definitely.
the congruency of what I wanted, I was being. And there's nothing more powerful you can do.
I adore this. Okay, let me ask you one more question before we get to
Sure.
the final. So give me one tip. I'm a mom of two kids also, and I don't have very many moms on the show. So give me your best tip of being an entrepreneur and a mother and trying to be a perfectionist at absolutely both.
Oh my God, let me think for a minute because I'm not quite a perfectionist. I'm a little more of an idealist. There's a
Yes,
slight distinction, but yeah, we're in the same family. So a mom of two kids trying to handle everything, right?
always.
And want it all done well, of course. So what's one of my tips? I would say batch.
Hmm.
So one of my favorite tips is to batch. And some of you might have heard this tip for your daily schedule, right? Like I interviewed someone for we have a podcast called Boost Your Sales and Lifestyle. That's seating, by the way. Um, Boost Your Sales and Lifestyle with Lisa Sasevich. I interviewed someone right before this, right? It's like batch. If I'm going to do my hair, do it right. Like
Yep.
ours
I
is
have five
audio, but
shirts over here for all
yeah.
the other interviews I have
Thank you so
today.
much.
Yep.
And then also, we have dinner with some friends, John and Maria Asraf tonight. So I know I'll
Oh,
have to do my
nice.
hair for that. So I batch, like, example, things that require me to not be my normal look, like a ponytail and straight from the gym,
Me
all
too.
the way until the kids come home. So batch not just your activities. Like today, I talk to my team on Tuesdays. I teach virtual courses on Thursdays. Fridays are when people want to come out for VIP days for me. We reserve, whatever Fridays we can. We're team meetings. So I batch that, but I also batch things like doing my hair. And then I also batch vacations. So for example, for some of you that might be in a blended family, you may have kids going back and forth, right? So we try to batch like when kids are at dad's, like we're already planning next June. Juan and I are off to Europe for 2 weeks. And then because I know that I'm not going to see them for 2 weeks, I also batch the reconnection time.
Hmm.
So when they come back, I make sure that I've got like a 3-day weekend. Sometimes even though we live by the beach in beautiful San Diego and La Jolla, we'll even take a staycation. We'll like check into one of the cool hotels here just to be like, I work from home.
Yeah.
So we'll staycation somewhere just to make sure that they don't come home and I'm like, hi, and I keep going. So I batch with my kids a lot, I think would be one of my best
That's
tips.
actually, thank you so much. That's the reminder. Next weekend, I'm supposed to be taking them on a staycation that's like a half an hour away from here. And I was like, oh, I forgot to book that. So thank you so much for
Yes.
that. So I know we have to start wrapping up. I'm writing notes of all the things I have to do now. Thank you, Lisa, for giving me
I'm
action
here
items.
for you, offline, online. Like we us ladies, right? That's why we called our show "Boost Your Sales and Lifestyle" because I would get so many opportunities to talk about those kind of things. It's one thing to be an entrepreneur, but if you're sitting at your desk working 9 to 5, doing the same thing you did in a job, you can expand your lifestyle, and we need to share those tips.
Heck yeah, because we all need help with that for sure. So to finish up, what's one action listeners can take this week to help move them forward towards their goal of 1 million?
Aside from downloading
Of course,
boostyoursalesbook.com
aside
forward
from
slash
yeah, slash EM.
I know, I'm relentless. I'm relentless. I think I just want to make sure I didn't gloss over it. So I'm going to repeat something here because I do think it's the biggest thing you can do. And that is be the client you want to attract.
Mm.
So if you're wanting, if you've got a bunch of deals out and no one's making a decision, look in your life and see, where do I have open loops? Where am I not making a decision? Be the man in the mirror. Look, it might be like you haven't replied to a wedding invitation. You haven't said yes or no to being on someone's podcast. You haven't closed a loop with somebody who's waiting for you. And sometimes we'll launch something and, we're not hitting the numbers. We're not getting the new clients that we were envisioning. And I'll be like, okay. And I go back in my life and I look to close open loops. Where am I not making decisions? Where am I not making decisions? So this whole idea, test it out, see for yourself. Don't take my word for it. I call it be the client you want to attract and see what happens if you can open the floodgates.
I love this. So make sure everybody actually takes some time to do this. Of
Yeah.
course, check out Lisa. We already said the link. We're going to say it one more time. And then also, if you could say where they could find you, like on social, and actually connect
Oh,
with you
sure.
also, that would be great.
Thank you so much. You're so generous to share your platform. I don't take it lightly. I really think that you've worked really hard and you're doing such great work to have so many people loving what you do. So I just want to say, to everybody who's here, smart find, really smart find. You can trust what's happening here. I can feel it.
Aw.
And we invite you over to our campus as well to help you with the sales conversion piece. So let's see. The link is if you didn't hear it enough times.
We have to
But
say it
make
one more
sure to
time.
add the M part.
Yes.
boostyoursalesbook.com/EM. That gets you not just the instant download of the book, but a 90-minute training webinar on making your offer irresistible and crafting your talk that leads to your offer. That's number one. If you want to join our podcast, it's audio. So, for those times when you're just listening in, Boost Your Sales and Lifestyle with Lisa Sasevich. Make sure to subscribe. And then on Facebook, join us at our fan page. That's where the party's at. There's heart-centered entrepreneurs is what we call ourselves. People who want to make money, but our priority is making a difference. And that's at Lisa Sasevich. You just type Lisa Sasevich right in. You'll find us there. If you accidentally get to my friends page, it'll have a little note that says, go to the fan page. And we really look forward to welcoming you, welcoming your friends. And yeah, that's it.
I really, really appreciate it. It's funny. We've never actually met you. We have 1,000 mutual friends, but I feel like I've known you forever. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. I appreciate it.
Today. Yeah, you're great. I'm really impressed by what you're doing. And hey, we'll have to have you back on over on our podcast. So I'll reach out and see if we can book some of your busy mommy time.
1,000 times yes. Thanks so much for coming on the show today, Lisa.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
I hope you enjoyed that interview. And if you want more like it, go to eventualmillionaire.com. If you click on the millionaire case studies, you will see over 200 millionaire interviews. I don't want you to get overwhelmed, of course, but I do want you to pick the one that might make the biggest difference in your business today. So what's something you're struggling with, and take a look and see if one of those could specifically help you. Don't just take information for information's sake. I want you to be able to take the information, have it applicable to you right now. You use it, you take action, you see results, you come back and go, Jamie, that was amazing. That's what I want. So go check out eventualmillionaire.com and click on the millionaire case studies. Thanks.